Low light photography is not as hard as people make it seem. The reason most people struggle isn't because their camera sucks or because they need some expensive, really fast lens. It's because they don't have a simple system for choosing settings when the light drops. Once you understand the basics of just 3 settings and how they work together in low light, along with which ones to prioritize first, you'll stop guessing and start getting sharp, usable shots every time you shoot in low light. Let me show you exactly how. So the first thing we need to talk about is ISO, because this is usually where low light photos start to fall apart. You've probably noticed that when you crank up your ISO, your photos start getting brighter, but they also start to look a lot more grainy. There's no detail in the shadows, or everything kind of looks like muddy and like pixelated. It might not look super obvious on your camera screen, but when you see it at a larger size or try to print it, that noise looks a bit rough. The reason this happens is because ISO is basically like a volume knob for light. It amplifies the light signal hitting your sensor, so whatever light does reach the sensor, that gets boosted to appear brighter. But just like how turning up the volume on a speaker can kind of like introduce static, turning up ISO introduces noise. And that noise gets more and more noticeable the higher you go in the number. So usually starting around ISO 800 to 1000 and upwards, you're gonna start noticing worse and worse noise from there. But here's the problem when we're shooting in low light, especially if you're shooting in an automatic mode, like program or even aperture priority. Your camera might boost your ISO to some crazy high number just to compensate for your shutter speed and aperture settings. It's trying to help, but it doesn't know that you'd rather have a slightly darker photo than just a total grainy mess. And that's exactly why I would suggest shooting in manual mode for low light. I know that sounds intimidating right now, but stick with me, because with a formula that I'm going to share in a bit, balancing these settings in manual mode for either handheld or tripod shooting is actually super straightforward. So the bottom line with ISO is that lower is cleaner, so like less noise and grain. Higher is going to be a lot more grainy. Our goal is to keep it as low as possible while still getting a usable exposure in low light. But to do that, we need to understand the other 2 settings first that we're dealing with, starting with shutter speed. Your shutter is basically like a set of floodgates for light. When you press the shutter button, those gates open up, light comes in and hits your sensor, and therefore your photo is recorded. The longer those gates stay open, the more light gets in, but also anything that's moving while those gates are open will appear blurry in your photo. But what most people don't realize, even if they're shooting something that's not moving, you're the one that's moving when you're taking the photo. Because even if you think you're holding your camera perfectly still, your hands have a little micro movements, or even just the movement of you pressing the shutter. And if your shutter speed is too slow in low light, those tiny movements of your hands will make your entire photo look soft or blurry. Unfortunately, those slow shutters are also what would make your photo bright enough to shoot in low light, so it becomes a balancing act, as we'll talk about how to address in a moment. But before we get to that, how do you know if your shutter is too slow and you're going to get that blurry result? Well, the simple rule is that your shutter speed should be at least 1 over your focal length. So if you're shooting at 50 millimeters, your minimum shutter speed should be around 1/50th of a second. If you're shooting at 100 millimeters, you'd want at least 1/100th of a second. Now I should mention though that this rule is based on full frame sensors. If you're shooting with a crop sensor camera, you basically want to double that number to be safe. So 50 millimeters becomes 1/100th as your minimum acceptable shutter on crop sensors, or if you're shooting at 100 millimeters on a crop sensor, your minimum shutter speed would be 1/200. So again, taking that rule of 1 over your focal length and doubling that as your safe guideline to guarantee you don't have blurry photos in low light. The actual math involves multiplying by your crop factor, like 1.5 or 1.6, but doubling is close enough and is a lot easier to do in your head, so I just recommend doing that. Now, all of those rules are assuming that you don't want any blur in your photo, but there is a creative side to shutter speed. A slower shutter speed can be a tool for creative effects like light trails from cars driving by, or motion from people walking, or silky smooth water if you're like shooting a stream in low light. That stuff all looks great if your camera is locked down to a tripod and you actually want that effect with the slow shutter. But if you're shooting handheld and trying to freeze some kind of motion in your photo, you need to follow that previous rule of of 1 over your focal length to make sure that you don't get blur from camera shake of your hands. So shutter speed controls two things: how bright your photo is based on how long those floodgates are open, letting light into your sensor, and it also controls whether movement is going to be sharp or blurry, and that includes movement from your hands holding the camera. So when you're shooting handheld, stick to 1 over your focal length as a minimum. If you're shooting on a tripod, you can go as slow as you want with your shutter speed. Just know that anything moving with a slow shutter speed will appear blurred. Alright, so we've got ISO affecting grain and shutter speed affecting blur. But what about aperture? The good news is that this one's actually the easiest to deal with in low light. In low light, your aperture strategy is pretty simple. Just open it up as wide as possible to let the most light through your lens as possible. The wider your aperture, meaning the lower that little F number on your camera, the more light that you'll be able to capture. And since we're shooting in low light, we want to use that widest possible aperture to let as much light as possible into our camera. Now, exactly how wide your aperture goes depends on your lens. Some lenses can go up to like f1.4 or f1.8, and those let in a ton of light, so it's easier to shoot with in low light. Now, on the other hand, kit lenses that come with most cameras are usually like f3.5 to f5.6, depending on your zoom, which means they let less light in at their wider aperture, so it's a little bit darker when you're shooting in low light, but it is still possible to capture great images. The trade-off to all of this wide aperture stuff, though, is that the wider your aperture, the shallower your depth of field, meaning less of your scene will be in focus. But honestly, in low light situations, getting enough light into your camera is the main priority. You can always stop down your aperture a bit if you need more depth of field, but starting with the widest aperture and then adjusting from there is usually the easiest way to go. So when you're in low light, just set your apertures to the widest setting and just leave it there. That way you only have two variables to worry about, your shutter speed and ISO, which makes the whole thing a lot simpler. Now, before we get into the actual shooting formulas, there's one thing that trips people up in low light, and that is autofocus. Your camera's autofocus system needs contrast to lock onto something. In bright light, that's pretty easy since there's like contrast everywhere, but in low light, your camera might start hunting back and forth because it can't find anything to grab onto. If that's the case, the fix is pretty simple. Instead of focusing on a point that's like flat or evenly lit, like a really dark area, for example, move it to an edge that has high contrast. An example of this could be like the edge of someone's face against a dark background, or where like a street light meets the darkness, or any other kind of defined line or shape in your scene. Put your focus point there, and that will help your camera lock focus, so then you can recompose with good focus as you need to. Alright, so now that you understand what each setting does with shutter speed, aperture, and ISO in low light, let's put it all together. I'm going to give you a super simple formula that you can follow when you're shooting handheld, and then we'll do the same thing for tripod shooting. Once you get this, choosing your settings in low light is going to be a lot less stressful. Now, when we're shooting in manual mode, the process is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to first take that aperture and make sure it's as wide as possible. So I have this set to f1.8, which is my current lens, so that's the widest aperture. And then for the shutter speed, we want this to be 1 over our focal length. So I'm using a 35mm right now, so 1 over 40 is going to be my minimum acceptable shutter speed just to be safe. Now, since my photo is still too dark, you can see the histogram is way over on that side saying everything in this photo is too dark, and my light meter is saying, well, we're way too dark here. So now we have the ISO. Since these two settings are fixed, I'm gonna go to my ISO and now bump this up until the exposure is looking a little bit better. Now we can look at the histogram, look at the light meter, that's looking a bit more balanced, and now we can take our photo. Checking to zoom in, that nothing is blurry, that's looking pretty good to me right there. All handheld and now in manual mode. Now, if this is a lot to remember, and I get it, there's a lot of moving pieces here, I put together a free photography essentials guide that breaks down all of these settings with simple visuals you can actually reference when you're out shooting. You can download it to your phone and pull it up whenever you need a quick refresher while shooting. It's totally free, links in the description below if you want to grab a copy. Now, when we're on a tripod, we want to follow the same rule of having our aperture as wide open as possible. So I'm currently at f2.8, which is the widest aperture for this lens. Our ISO, we don't have to really worry about as much now because we can then just go to our shutter speed and bring that up. And since our camera is going to be stable, it doesn't matter if it's open for a second or 10 seconds or anything like that, because it's going to stay perfectly still when we go and take our photo. Now in this frame here, I have a lot of discrepancy from the really bright roadway that you can see at around 1/8 of a second. That looks decently exposed. But at the histogram level, everything is basically black. There's no information in this photo. So this is the challenge with low light photography, especially in a really high contrast frame like this, where there's a super bright roadway compared to a very dark surrounding area. In this type of situation, you want to first expose for the brightest tones, which would be the roadway, and then you can take additional photos as a bracketed image to blend them together. For now though, I'm just gonna go and take this image. And notice how any of the cars that were moving in this photo now appear as little light trails. And the longer you have your shutter open, the more those would smooth out. But because I had around a 1-second shutter, there wasn't that much time to create those really long light trails. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, what gear do I need to get better low light photos, even if we do all the settings correctly? And I'm not gonna go and tell you to buy a bunch of new gear, but if you're already thinking about your next camera or lens purchase, there are a couple of things that genuinely make a difference in low light, and they're worth knowing about. The first is lens aperture, a lens that can open up to f2.8, f1.8, or even f1.4 will let in way more light than a kit lens stuck at, say, f5.6. And that means you can use lower ISOs and faster shutters, or both. So if you're serious about shooting in low light, a fast prime lens is probably one of the best investments that you can make for that genre of photography. The second thing, and this one kind of surprises a lot of people, is that actually having fewer megapixels will improve your low light photos. I know that sounds backwards, but here's why. On a full frame sensor, fewer megapixels means each individual pixel or photo site is physically larger on the sensor. Larger pixels means that each one can capture more light per pixel, which means less noise at high ISOs. This is why some cameras that are specifically designed for low light shooting might only have like 12 megapixels. That's not like a limitation, it's literally a feature for low light shooting. I've got a whole video on why megapixels don't really matter the way most people think. I'll link that in the description if you want to go deeper, but the short version is don't chase megapixels if low light performance is important to you. All right, let's quickly recap the formula so you can take this with you the next time you're shooting. For handheld, set your aperture wide open, set your shutter speed to 1 over your focal length at the slowest, double that number if you're on a crop sensor, then raise your ISO until you're properly exposed on the light meter or histogram. Take a test shot, check your sharpness, and then adjust any settings from there. If you're shooting on a tripod, use a nice wide aperture again, ISO at 100, and then slow down your shutter until the exposure looks right. If you need a little bit extra brightness, you can then boost your ISO as needed. Simple as that. Just remember that anything that moves with that slow shutter speed will appear blurred, so keep that in mind if you want to avoid those effects. Now, one last thing, if you do end up with some grain in your photos, that's honestly not the end of the world. Tools like Lightroom or Camera Raw's denoise features can do some pretty incredible work for cleaning up grainy images, so if you have those programs, don't stress too much about getting noise in your photos, because there are options to go and fix it in post, at least to a degree. Now, if you want all of this in a simple reference, you can pull up on your phone, grab my free photography essentials guide. It's in the description below. Breaks down these settings with easy visuals, so you're not trying to remember everything from memory. Again, it's totally free and in the description below. If you've got your own tips for shooting in low light that I didn't mention here, be sure to drop them in the comments so that we can make this a more detailed and interesting discussion. But with that, I'll see you in the next one.